And I've got you reading stuff. Is that cool?
Yes.
All right.
I am prepared.
Excellent. Well, then we can do a show if you want.
That's a good idea. Do you feel like doing a show
I
today?
wouldn't mind.
Hey, here's a thought.
Yeah.
We should do a show today.
I could show.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we go. Am I recording? Yes, I am.
Live via alphageekradio.com. The Daily Tech News Show is made possible by patrons like you at patreon.com/acedetect. Thank you. For information on how to contribute, go to bit.ly/helpdtns. You're on the Frog Pants Studios Network. Audio so good, it's like you're there.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, August 19th, 2014. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Deputy Technology Editor for the New York Times, Molly Wood.
Hello, everyone. Be kind to me. I'm wearing a red shirt today.
Yeah, we are not sending you on any away missions with that kind of clothing on.
I am not leaving the ship.
No leaving the ship, but we do have some business models to poke at, led by Uber a little later on. We've got an email about healthcare, and we have the headlines. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's headline it up.
Engage. The HTC One M8 for Windows Phone became a reality today, and likely the longest name in smartphones right now. It's essentially the same as the Android M8, a 5-inch phone and all that, but only available in a 32-gigabyte version. The Android has a 16 as well. It's available in the U.S. to start from Verizon for $99 on contract, online today, and in stores tomorrow.
Hey, you know what? It is worth a try. The Next Web reports that former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer has stepped down from the company's board of directors, not because he is a rat fleeing a ship, as so many have suggested on Twitter. No. It's so that he can focus on his new role as owner of the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team. Ballmer plans to remain Microsoft's biggest individual shareholder, but he wrote in a public letter to CEO Satya Nadella that it would be impractical to remain on the board with his other time commitments, which I got to say, I'm not buying it all, because have you seen all the crap that Mark Cuban does in addition to tweeting about the Mavericks all the time?
Mark Cuban's a much younger man, Molly. You know, Steve doesn't have the energy.
That's actually true.
He's very slow and
I think he just has a really good hair doctor.
That's not Ballmer at all, is it?
Not buying it.
I noticed that 2 out of 3 Microsoft founders, if you consider Ballmer a founder, you kind of have to grandfather him in a little bit, but he was there right at the beginning, own basketball teams now.
Weird.
Paul Allen, Steve Ballmer, Thick and Gates, gonna buy a basketball team soon.
It does seem really fun to own a basketball team.
Yeah. I can't blame him.
I would definitely choose that over the board of Microsoft anytime. But you know what I'm thinking? Just go ahead and own it. Just say it. Just be like, you know what? I did that. I'm over it. Now I want to do this. Not like I don't have time. Rich guys have time for everything.
He's looking at that sideline full of folding chairs, just salivating. Those are all mine. Do whatever I want with them. Android Police has some secret, unconfirmed source of info about Google's upcoming subscription music service, which they say will be called YouTube Music Key. The new service will offer ad-free music, audio-only playback for background or when your screen's off, and offline playback as well. YouTube Music Key will allegedly be free for the first 30 days, after which the service would run $10 a month. According to Android Police, that price will include both YouTube Music Key and Google Play Music Key, which would become the new name of the Google Music All Access service.
Otherwise known as the most confusing and worst named and potentially worst rollout music service ever.
You think it's off key?
Nice one. I just want to let that simmer because I know it's a slow burn. It was like a grenade joke.
All right. Okay, good.
Okay, everybody just got it. I hope that there is some future announcement that will try to make sense of all this and explain the fact that I believe there's already some sort of a subscription Google Music service, and then they were also talking about the YouTube Music service, and is that the same one where they were going to like shut artists out of it if they didn't agree to sign on to the music service, or like they weren't going to be allowed to be on YouTube? Is it that? And then why is it called Key?
Yeah, forget the name.
I don't know.
If Android Police is right, this is the service that the one label was disputing becoming a member of, right? pretty sure about that.
Presumably, yes.
And then what they say is that the current Google subscription service, All Access,
Would now include
become this
weird YouTube thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, why?
I think what really confuses people, they're like, but YouTube is videos.
So there's
I know they're music videos and people watch music videos, but it's confusing to be like, so offline listening without the screen on, but then I'm not seeing the video. And YouTube's like, yeah, but it's just a music service as well as a YouTube video music.
And then why isn't it just a Google music service? Google's not good at integrating things. I have noticed that they have the same name. Like we just had a whole conversation about Picasa versus Google Plus photos that you will see in the column this week, and it's a mess. Speaking of messes, Engadget reports that Dropbox-owned Mailbox has begun rolling out early access to its desktop email client. That was not fair. I don't know if it's a mess or not. If you are a current Mailbox user or you signed up for the beta, you should be issued a beta coin as well as a few more beta coins to share with your friends. The rollout goes in batches, so you might not get your beta coin right away. Don't panic. Your beta coin is in the mail box. The software
you don't have yet.
You're welcome. The software runs on OS X Mavericks and shares several features with the popular mobile app. The company, though, has not decided on a release date for the final version. Probably they're just working out the whole beta coin situation.
Was Mailbox the one that you got in line to use when they launched it?
I think.
And it would tell you you're 7,000th in line, and then your number would go down.
And then
a bunch of apps did that. I think they were. So now they're doing a fake cryptocurrency. Your beta coin, which is just an invite.
When did tech get so confusing? It's so hard to keep up anymore.
The tech is actually less confusing than the service, than the descriptions. That's
a really good point. Yeah, if you just paid and you had music on Google or YouTube, that'd be fine.
Yeah,
and then if you just had mail.
If it was like, hey, Mailbox is in beta right now, you'll get an invite when it's ready for you, and then eventually it'll come out for everybody.
Don't send me a beta coin. I'm already exhausted by that. Ugh, I can't even remember my 72 passwords right now.
It gets better. Well, not yet, though. The next web reports Uber has launched a test service called Corner Store in parts of Washington, D.C. For a couple weeks, you'll be able to choose an Uber driver from the Corner Store tab on your app who can then deliver you various convenience store items, things like toothpaste and shampoo and aspirin and such. When you've selected an available driver, you'll confirm your address. Then you'll get a link to a list of available items and their prices. Then you can choose your items if they're available. Then you wait for a call from the driver in which you can place your order. Then when the driver arrives, you can go outside and confirm your order. It's that easy.
All you have to do is...
Talk about overly complicated.
Just go to the damn store. It's probably right next door.
Yeah, by the time seriously. I guess if you can't really leave the house because you're so hardworking or incapacitated or sick or something, maybe this
Instacart.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
Yes, we are. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Also, Uber's hired President Obama's former campaign manager, David Plouffe, to be their senior vice president of policy and strategy.
Which is arguably the bigger news of the day, that they went and got a real policy guy to help them deal with policy because Uber's in trouble all over the country. But we're just going to talk about Uber later. Right now, that whole next billion thing, it's happening. The Next Web passes along details of an IDC report saying that Q2 shipments of smartphones in India grew 84% year over year, not feature phones. Feature phones do still make up 71% of all shipments, so there is plenty of room for that skyrocketing smartphone market to continue. Micromax was India's overall top mobile phone shipper, while Samsung topped the smartphone category. Nokia, which has been kind of trying to sell smartphones and feature phones and all kinds of things all over India, nowhere to be found.
Yeah, the Indian companies have been eating Nokia's lunch, and Samsung's too. It's good news for Samsung that they're actually still on top in smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Time for some news from you. These are things submitted on our subreddit. We get lots of stories. Some of these stories we already talked about were submitted on the subreddit, and we look at it to figure out what goes in the lineup each day. And we like to call out a few of those in particular. TM204 submitted the subscription-only report by The Information that we know not everybody could afford to read. So we also found a similar story from CNET about Google's attempt to find new users by offering some of its services to children. This would include a child-safe version of YouTube featuring a dashboard to let parents monitor their children's activity. Any new version of the site targeted at kids, of course, would need to comply with the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which imposes restrictions on what web companies can do if their site targets children under 13 years old. Most big tech companies shy away from doing that because of all the restrictions. However, kid-focused businesses like Disney and Nickelodeon have found plenty of ways to work within the law. So do you think this is Google trying to force their stuff towards 13-year-olds or coming up with a Nickelodeon of Google?
I am thinking that it's a little bit of a Nickelodeon for Google. I was just ironically Googling, actually technically I was DuckDuckGoing, looking for, there's a site that has sort of made itself famous by just being, a site for children that kind of just says look, we know COPPA exists, but we're for children, so just ignore that. And, there's a strong argument to be made that a lot of lying is happening from parents. We know that a lot of people are using YouTube. Sure. A lot of children are using YouTube. That
they just say they're 18 even though they're not.
And that kids in schools are getting Google issued email addresses. So I think there's a double argument. One, yes, please, Google, do this. And maybe it will help us redefine COPPA in a way that makes sense for the modern world. Every time I say COPPA, though, I get distracted and I think about salami.
Oh, God, like Copa Salami.
I failed to have lunch.
I think of the wine center in Sonoma.
I think there are definitely ways to work within this law, like you said, and a lot of companies are doing it, but I also wouldn't mind seeing Google force the issue by launching sort of kid-centric services like this, because it is a very unenforced law, and I'm not saying that it's not important to have protections for children online.
And Google would not mind at all having money from toy advertisers.
Oh, seriously. Did you hear the whole thing about the reason that we're flooded with toys is that toys are exempt from tariff taxes? So we can import, toys are somehow exempt from import-export taxes.
We have have free trade of toys?
Yeah, so it's super freaking cheap to make toys, which is why we are now flooded with plastic toys all the time.
Wow.
We need to tax, there's no reason not to tax toys, because it's just led to this insane consumer society where toys are an ecological disaster because landfills are filled with plastic. You can't even donate little plastic toys in some charities like Salvation Army and Goodwill. They won't even take it because there's so many of them in the world.
It's free market at work, Molly.
Tax toys.
Socialist.
I am off topic. magoojc posted the Ars Technica article about a settlement between Personal Audio LLC and Adam Carolla over a patent dispute that affected podcasting. So appropriate because it's the 10-year anniversary this week, right?
Yeah, well, Daily Source Code, right?
Right.
August 13th.
Both sides filed a joint motion to dismiss and then agreed to a quiet period until September 30th. Both the lawsuits and Carolla's countersuit were dropped without prejudice, which means that they could be refiled. Personal Audio, by the way, still suing CBS, NBC, and Fox over video-on-demand services. The EFF is challenging the Personal Audio patent in an inter partes review that's being conducted at the U.S. Patent Office, because the big disappointment, of course, about this settlement is that we didn't get the chance to potentially invalidate the patent.
No law was decided because they both just walked away, and they can both refile lawsuits if they want. So there's no precedence. I'm glad you mentioned the Daily Source Code anniversary, because today, August 19th, is the anniversary of Dave Weiner posting an experimental RSS with enclosures, including an MP3 of an interview Chris Lydon did to deliver a no-click weight version of a show. And a lot of people date actually, that being the first podcast.
Nice.
So,
yeah. No, I saw an article about it yesterday, which made me think of it.
Yeah, that's cool. Sewell, too, pointed out the Ars Technica story about Delaware's Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets and Digital Accounts Act. They know how to name them in Delaware, which gives heirs and executors the authority to take legal control of a digital account or device, just like they would be able to take control of papers and documents. Right now, under California law, for instance, if I die, my heir does not have the right to access, my Twitter account, for instance. However, some oppose this Delaware law. They say it makes no provision for confidential records, such as those of, say, patients stored in a deceased doctor's email account, for instance.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a fine line to walk, because potentially accounts, like public-facing Twitter accounts, potentially have value.
Yeah.
And then there's a confidential records element, but then there's also the part where people do sort of just need to have digital access after someone dies. But I think that's a little bit different from what that's... I think taking legal control seems a little...
Well, if let's say I'm a private practice doctor or a single proprietor lawyer, and everything's in one email account,
right?
And they're like, well, we need to get into his email account because we need to access passwords, and the passwords get delivered to the email account. But then also in the email account, things that are client, lawyer, privilege, things, patient records. That is a little murky.
It's a tricky world that we live in these days. Tricky world.
Glad I don't run it. That's a look at the headlines. Hey, always room to throw out a thank you or two. And we don't thank enough Alpha Geek Radio. Todd Whitehead does a great job putting that together. All kinds of folks streaming their audio podcasts over Alpha Geek Radio all the time, including ourselves. If you want to listen live, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday at mobile.alphageekradio.com. Check it out. And of course, if you like what they do, you see a little value in what they do, they've got their own way of supporting them. Patreon.com/alphageek. All right, you mentioned Instacart earlier, and we heard that story about Uber Corner Store, and it just seems like everybody's getting back into the delivery game again. In fact, there was a very interesting story on Recode today that was written by Liz Gaines about the sort of deja vu aspect of, say, One, a weirdly named service that delivers you anything you want for free by bike. It's not called Kozmo, but it's basically Kozmo all over again. If you don't remember, Kozmo in the .com boom, famously delivered by bike messenger, anything you wanted for free. You just paid for the item itself. And of course, Webvan, the guy from Webvan, Louis Borders, has a new stealth startup. It's a same-day delivery startup known as HDS. Stands for Home Delivery Service, uses a robotic warehouse. So it's essentially the same thing as Webvan again. Do we want Uber delivering us convenience store items, first of all? Is this something we need?
I mean, I think we have clearly spoken as a web community, and what we have said is that we are lazy bastards, and that given the opportunity to not leave the couch, we will take that opportunity. In fact, I'm embarrassed to report that last night I had Postmates deliver me dinner and Instacart deliver me groceries in the same night.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wait, Postmates, I know Postmates will do more than just restaurants. Could you have also had Postmates deliver you the groceries?
I don't know. Yes, they'll go to
maybe,
Safeway. Yes, they'll go to Safeway, I think.
But Instacart is like your thing.
But Instacart's like my thing, and I have all my favorites there, and I use it all the time. And it already has my, I don't know why. I don't know. Possibly Postmates would have done that, but I can't always tell like which service does what compared to the other. So anyway,
they'll do it a little differently, right? Like the Uber thing is like, we just have the stuff. I'm imagining they have it in the trunk of their car. It's probably not what it is, but they're like, this is what we have and this is the price. Don't ask where it came from.
So I mean, there's a little, so there's two questions. One is convenience a workable business model for the web? And I would say that so far it seems to be yes, right? Like we don't have, I was talking with a friend recently and she said the only reason that she would ever want to be a billionaire or even a millionaire is to have staff help her with her life. And I said, no, you don't need that because you have the internet. Like we can all live like rich people now because we have some service that will pick something up,
fancy
that will
hands,
send over a handyman, that will, bring us our groceries, that will bring us our wine, that will pick out clothes for us online. Like convenience is in fact the greatest human desire. So I don't know that there's an argument there, and we finally have the scale to pull it off, unlike in the early days of Webvan and Kozmo, which is all a separate question of whether Uber should be doing this.
Well, and there's two things that are different from the Webvan/Kozmo days. And that's why I'm a little skeptical of HDS, because it seems like they're making some of the same mistakes again. But one of the things that's different is that we have figured out crowdsourcing, right? Uber and Lyft and all of these companies, and even Airbnb, said, we don't have to build the infrastructure. It exists. We just need to like hook people up so that they can easily take advantage of it. And that seems to be the case. I guess that's what happens with some of these. I know One works this way. I think Instacart may work this way, where people sign up to be the delivery people. They're sort of independent contractors. Well,
and actually at Instacart, and there's sort of several issues at play. Instacart has their employees. They're part-time employees, but they're actually paid.
Only one that does that. Got it.
Right, and they're paid quite well. And so there's sort of this double whammy of conversations, which is also that like Instacart is an example where they pay their employees quite well. They have a markup on the groceries. There's a delivery charge unless you sign up for the Instacart Express thing.
Right.
There's sort of, business-based models at work there. One and the ones that kind of have people sign up and crowdsource that are arguably fairly exploitative. And I sort of feel like they're about to lead to like a next wave of unionization because they don't pay people very much. And, you know, there was like TaskRabbit had to come out, I think, with basically a minimum wage because they were finding that people were really getting exploited. They were signing up for an hour's worth of work and ending up doing 4, and so their effective hourly rate was really low. So there's sort of all those issues. And then, so the Uber matter, the Uber launch makes a little more sense that way because they already have these guys in cars and these women in cars, people driving around in cars.
Yeah.
The only way it becomes a problem for them, it's mission creep for sure to start like a delivery system. But the only way it becomes a problem for them really is if their pickup times start to suffer. Because they've got somebody like dropping off condoms a few blocks away, and so they can't pick up the person who's stranded at the Javits Center.
Right.
Or stranded in Adams Morgan, I guess, since they're starting it in D.C.
Yeah. Yeah, they're at heaven and hell.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, I guess I can kind of understand, like, if you've got people driving around all day, you might as well have them drop off.
It's taking advantage of spare capacity. And here's what's interesting. Uber, this is not the first time Uber's tried something else. If you didn't know, there was Uber Movers that they tried out in Atlanta to help college people move. So they just had movers available like Uber cars. And
Right.
you could see if one was available and say, yeah, I need you to help now. There was Uber Rush, which I think is still ongoing as an experiment in New York for replacing courier service. So I get the feeling what Uber's doing is saying, look, we have a little spare capacity here. Is there anything that makes sense to do it? Let's try. That makes a lot more sense than, yes, we're launching this thing. They're like, we're going to try. And remember, Uber Corner Store, they say, we're going to try this for a couple of weeks as an experiment and see how it goes. If it goes well, we might do it longer.
And they've been experimenting with delivery. I mean, this is, you know, they've already done this as promotional stunts before. Like there was one day where they were delivering kittens.
Yeah, they did ice cream here not too long ago.
Yeah, they did ice cream delivery. Exactly. So it's something that they're clearly curious about. And I would be really interested in their own assessments of how much spare capacity they do have. Like how much downtime do drivers actually have?
Now, the other, I mentioned there were two things that didn't exist in the Webvan and Kozmo days, and one of them we talked about with the crowdsourced employees. The other is the recognition of and you sort of touched on it when you said Uber's already got the cars out there. These sorts of services might be helpful in getting people in the door, right? Like, I don't really know about taking a ride in Uber. I'm a little unfamiliar with that, but I'll have them deliver me an aspirin. And then all of a sudden you've signed up, you've got your credit card info in there, you've met an Uber driver, and the next time you want to take a ride, you're like, oh, maybe I will use Uber because I'm already set up in it.
Right.
I don't know if that works, but that's another way this could work is as a loss leader to sort of get people in the door to do the thing that you make the most money on. Maybe,
although it is kind of weird to think that if I like the person who delivered me toothpaste enough, I would ride around in a car with them.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking of it quite so personally, like that particular driver. It was more just like,
these guys seem cool.
I've tried the app, so yeah, actually, it might be good for the driver's like, you know, I've been really good with your toothpaste. Here's my card. Make sure to
my card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an odd. There's no question that it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit of an odd move for them, especially if they have to have drivers suddenly running into convenience stores and picking things up. And that's I just feel like there's a time calculation that might be a little here.
The only way this makes sense to me is that if they have a trunk full of the stuff, because they have a limited list of items, and even that limited list that's on the website, they're like, we'll text you with the updated list because we have to check inventory. So I almost feel like either there's a nearby warehouse or there's some stuff in the trunk, and they kind of go. They kind of just have to have it with them.
You'd be like, ew, this toothpaste is really warm. Has it been sitting in your trunk all day? Gross.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
exactly.
I don't know. It's odd.
There's nothing perishable on any of this. This is all stuff that could be sitting in a warehouse. So,
in general, I'm a big fan of do your one thing and do it well. But this feels like a kind of an odd departure. But I mean, you never know. Everybody seems to be all about odd departures these days. It's the new thing to do on the internet.
And it does seem to be that like delivery is the thing, as you mentioned. This morning, I realized, I forgot to order a spare battery for my camera. I need to do that. And I went on Amazon and I found the battery and they said, will you pay an extra amount of money to have it shipped today by 9 p.m.? And I said, yes, I will absolutely do that because I need this right away.
So here's an interesting side note to that. I have noticed that Amazon, and this may argue that delivery, especially on-demand fast delivery, is not that cost effective. Have you noticed that Amazon is starting to encourage the kind of not in such a damn hurry option for Prime shipping?
Oh, right. Because they're like, look, we don't always need to spend money to keep you.
Yeah.
So if you don't need it, we'll give you $1 for something that doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah, like maybe you don't need it so bad. Like we could just, and I don't know if they're finding, I mean, they're probably finding that as more and more people use Prime, because they advertise Prime for everything, that in fact, it costs a lot of money to ship stuff, No,
it's a clever way to cut that margin on Prime back a little and say, oh, not everything needs to be 2 days. So let's give them something pretty cheap. To just, and if they don't take advantage of it, it's fine. I'm sure Prime is still going to make sense as it is, but it's just, shave that margin back.
I'm sure it is, but it kind of just gives, I don't know, it kind of just gives me the impression that, like, they're in trouble, which is probably not true, but it's like anytime you're sort of encouraging people to help save you money, it feels a little low rent.
But I
I'm
know,
snobby.
From what I know of Jeff Bezos, I can never imagine him doing something that would, ever passing an opportunity for an idea that would have saved money. So,
oh yeah, well, especially since they had terrible earnings.
So I don't look at it as they're in trouble. I'm like, oh, look, there's another pinch penny move by Amazon.
Maybe. I mean, you could argue that they are getting to a point where they're starting to potentially lose money on Prime. They're subsidizing.
There was definitely the stock backlash.
Yeah. And there was a stock backlash because they reported terrible earnings.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're not making as much money. And so I just thought that was very interesting. Interesting as a long-term kind of barometer for whether, I mean, granted, Amazon packages in a whole ton of stuff, but like, even if you charge me an arm and a leg for Postmates, which they do, is it really cost effective for you to send a person to a restaurant and pick up my dinner and bring it to me?
Right. Is that long term? That's what this whole discussion is about, right? Is like, is that actually make sense? Can somebody do it the way Kozmo and Webvan and all those others at the time couldn't?
But I think there's boom.
And there's a whole lot more people on the internet now, thanks to smartphones. That maybe it does. Maybe you make it up in volume.
I think you could potentially make it up in volume because every time I tell somebody about Instacart or Postmates or Caviar, any of the services, I mean, granted, we benefit disproportionately in these big cities. But every time I tell somebody, like, no, they went to Homeroom, the mac and cheese place, and brought me friggin' mac and cheese with sriracha and ginger in it, like.
I have the recipe for mac and cheese from Homeroom. I'll share.
Oh, really? I've heard.
I've made it once. It's amazing.
I heard it's really good.
Yeah.
I have this Dungeness crab one. Oh my god.
All right, let's take a quick look at the calendar. Tomorrow, August 20th, Samsung and Barnes & Noble will host a Nook event in New York to show off their first co-branded tablet, the Galaxy Tab 4 Nook.
That's so cute.
It's name inflation day. Like the HTC One M8 Windows Phone, and tomorrow the Galaxy Tab 4 Nook from Barnes & Noble. Also on August 20th, Hewlett-Packard releases its latest earnings report. August 20th through the 22nd is a popular date for conferences. We have the Usenix Security Symposium in San Diego, always a classic. The Grow Conference in Whistler, British Columbia, which helps startups, grow and probably ski. And Unity 2014 in Seattle, a conference for users of the Unity game development ecosystem. I guess they're not going to be skiing in August.
I was wondering about that.
It's far north, but it's not that far north.
Snow somewhere up there, but
yeah. Finally, Asus teased a smartwatch-shaped shadowy thing on their invite to a September 3rd event at IFA. We don't know if it's a smartwatch, but it's totally going to be a smartwatch.
It's totally going to be a smartwatch.
Our pick of the day comes from Jamie Brand. He's been using this app for a while now, and he says, I swear by it. It's called Battery Doctor, and it frees up memory on your phone. Whenever I launch a game or memory-intensive app, I will run this free app and free up some memory. It's free and available for iOS and Android phones. The real reason I'm making this a pick, however, is a feature they added recently. You're now able to set up a service called One Tap Boost. And after a quick settings profile is set up, we'll add a boost icon to your springboard. One tap will now quickly free up memory for you without having to open the main battery app. And it also closes automatically once you're done. A great app for those who use several apps throughout the day. Now, I have not used Battery Doctor, and as many of you out there know, there are lots of battery apps that can actually be bad for your phone. I did some due diligence looking at Battery Doctor. They have insanely good reviews on both the Android Google Play Store and the iOS App Store with thousands of reviews, so they're likely not too badly astroturfed. Lifehacker recommended them about a year ago, so I'm going to trust that Jamie is telling the truth and doing good by us with Battery Doctor. But you might check it out. Battery Doctor is the name of it. Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Finally, our message of the day comes from Joe Acosta regarding the attack on 4.5 million healthcare records from community health systems we mentioned yesterday. He says, I work in health IT, and for the last 4 years have worked closely through several federal programs to implement EHRs and other health IT systems into private practices, hospitals, and medical groups. All of these efforts have the idea of improving people's access to their health data. Because of the mandates through various federal entities for individual access to health data, we can't air gap these systems and really lock down the exchange interfaces like you would financial transactions. As a result, health data today is vulnerable. The treasure trove of personal information is so appealing to the bad guys. For the first time, most health providers have access to clinical intelligence systems, allowing them to improve quality, patient satisfaction, and lower medical costs. Future hacks could destroy consumer trust in HIT, and that would have a detrimental effect on the healthcare system. It's really scary, and unlike other industries which readily adopt technologies to improve business outcomes, healthcare drags its feet.
Wow, interesting. That is really too bad because personalized and more digitized healthcare is such a promising field and has so many implications from telemedicine to telehealth and ways that it could improve access in rural areas and all of these sort of wonderful things that will not be made possible if people are too afraid to use it because they're too worried about the data.
And I wonder, like, why couldn't, I mean, I need personal access to my financial data, right? So what is the regulatory difference there that Joe is alluding to? Well, I mean, yeah, right. You're right. It's HIPAA. But what is it about HIPAA that causes that problem? I think
that's half misunderstanding, honestly, like because what HIPAA regulates is the way that you can distribute records. And so I have doctors who won't even email me.
Yeah, right.
Because they're like, email's not allowed under HIPAA.
Yeah.
But then some will, but you have to get like an authorization number and you have to.
But you can get your bank statement emailed to you.
But you can get your bank statement emailed to you. Totally different regulations. Right. The one is overprotected. But as a result of it being overprotected, I think people don't know how to build systems to, because, you know, Google could attempt to encrypt my email end to end, which might help me with my bank records emails. Sure. But these health exchanges that send you information, which are essentially privatized email, are maybe more vulnerable if they're badly built.
Yeah, right. No, it's a really insightful email, Joe. Thank you for sending that to us. We appreciate it. And thank you, Molly Wood.
Why, thank you. It was delightful to be here. You guys turned my frown upside down.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. nytimes.com/video/Molly-Wood or nytimes.com/machine learning.
Yes, I put in the video link today because so many people ask if I'm still doing video, and I realized really recently, because I'm a dummy, that I have my own channel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's got my name on it. Like if you go to New York Times or nytimes.com/video, then I have one just called Molly-Wood because I saw like a banner ad for me on the Times.
That's
it was
impressive.
Like, watch Molly Wood, and then I was like, whoa.
That's the most impressive thing I've heard since we had the 100-foot version of you at CES when you were at CNET.
God. Yes, it's kind of like that. Totally.
But check it out, nytimes.com/machine learning for more Molly Wood. And Molly, thank you. We're going to have you back again next week, I think, right?
Yes, I think so. It's like a Tuesday twofer.
Awesome. Thank you to our patrons, 4,215. The number keeps going up, and that just blows me away that there's that many of you seeing value in the show and wanting to give a little value back. Of course, patreon.com is the main way, patreon.com/acedetect, that we fund the show. But people are finding all other kinds of ways, whether it's non-monetary, just by telling folks about it or contributing things to the show in little ways, or giving some Bitcoin. I got 20,000 Dogecoins from someone today, so thank you for that, whoever that was. That's, that's more than $10, I think, or something around there. Anyway, dailytechnewsshow.com/donate to find out all the ways. And don't forget, you can have a voice in what stories we cover. Our subreddit's the easiest way to participate. dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. You can email us, feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-5932-459. And listen to the show live, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 Pacific at mobile.alphageekradio.com. Our website has all these links, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll see you there. Joining us tomorrow, the other host of Always On, Jeff Canada. We'll see you then.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.
Hooray!
Ew.
Good stuff.
Jeff Canada.
Yeah.
Good
he
times.
puts the can in Canada.
Anytime I can say condoms on the show, it's good. Get your
It's a
condoms
good
from the
day.
store down the road, and then blah, 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 blah.
I started to go down that road, and then I was like, no.
I got you. I got you covered.
Let's leave those condoms down there where they were. Thank you.
Well, because what else are you going to need delivered so urgently? I guess kind of toothpaste, like when you're traveling.
My classic Kozmo order that I remember was a copy of Star Wars Episode 1 on VHS, a bottle of Listerine, a Scientific American, and a sandwich.
Party at Tom's house.
That is awesome.
Oh my
What's
God.
amazing
Sounds
is
like
that you
a time
remember
travel
it.
recipe.
I used to remember the type of sandwich. I think it was a salami sandwich. My memory is fading of it. But it was one of those things where, like, well, I need these. I want the latest Scientific American. I need more mouthwash. And then I just happened to, it was the impulse buy, right? I like, oh, they have a VHS copy of that? Sure.
Oh,
all
right.
Yeah.
That's
And I'm
how they
hungry.
see. That's their business model, is like get you to order more things when you
Yep.
notice that there are more things.
Exactly.
I wonder. Now I'm actually pretty curious as to whether I could have had Postmates bring me my like smoothie fixins. For my
Well, yeah.
birthday.
I spent a good half hour just going through all these different services trying to figure out how they work, because they don't all work the same. Like
No,
some
that's
of
the other
them,
thing.
some of them set their own prices for the items. Some of them set their own prices and have a delivery charge. Some of them just
Well,
have a delivery charge.
And
Like,
Postmates, I think I'm going to stop using because it doesn't tell you how much. I think it like doesn't tell you how much the delivery charge is going to be, and it's sort of a little bit of a surge pricing or something. And then it ended up being like $15, like the
Wow.
delivery fee last night, which is insane. It's like
No.
more than an entree. I mean, that's nuts. And I actually pay for the Instacart Express, so I get the free delivery.
What was I going to say? I am a devotee. I don't know if it's other places, but in LA of yummy.com. That is seriously like, they're like blocks from my house. They're like major like Hollywood warehouse, and they're just the nicest people all the time.
yeah, I've heard of them, but I don't think I've ever used them.
Such a fan. Such a fan.
Yeah, and that's what I do love about Instacart is that they're always super friendly and they always call me and they're like, "Hey, they didn't have this. Do you want me to get this?" They're wonderful. And
Hey, I'm at the store.
Instacart is definitely one of those things where when I discovered it, it's not just that it's like lazy bastard instant gratification. It's that like there are times when I think to myself, this is the only way that I could do my life.
I like that you're like, it's not just that.
Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's just like I'm freaking tired. But you know, it's lazy in the way where I'm just like I'm freaking tired. Like I'm exhausted. I believe that all these services were basically created for the single mom. We're just like, thank you. I treat Instacart like my husband. It's like, can you just go to the store for me and grab a few things? Thanks.
Molly's married to Instacart.
I am married to Instacart.
As befits a Molly and Tom show, we have some of the best titles we've had in a while.
Oh, yay! Like what?
So, all right, the top vote getter is Uber Curious. But my personal favorite is from Todd Whitehead, Uber wants to grab your package. I say that's the automatic winner, except CS803 also gave us Ballmer, which is pretty great.
I know. I saw
Very
Basketball
clever.
and that made me laugh so hard.
Yes. Then we have a couple others, high vote getters, Google Off Key, Rage Against the Learning Machine, I think, was pre-show.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, Are You the YouTube Keymaster? Googleodian, which I like.
Nice.
And my personal favorite from Beatmaster, Google Wants Your Children. Which,
Your children, how much for them?
yeah. So those were like my favorite ones.
Well, Molly, would you like to do the honors? Because I don't think we can go wrong. There's too many good
I don't
ones.
think so either. I am torn between Uber grabbing your package and Google Wants Your Children.
Yeah. Because they're both so sinister.
They are so sinister. I think I gotta go with Uber and the package just because it
Yeah.
was the bulk
Okay.
of the show.
Yeah. And also it's a little
And also,
Or a condom reference.
yeah. That
Exactly.
reference did make it as a title, but it didn't have the
me and Todd Whitehead with the sense of humor.
yeah.
Right here, buddy. Right here.
Have you met Todd Whitehead, Molly?
Uh-uh.
Oh yeah, he's got a heck of a sense.
So yeah.
You would like the Todd Whitehead. So what was I think? Oh,
And my
wow.
apologies if we have met.
Well,
There's that possibility.
you have not sat down and dined, because then you would remember.
Right.
I'll put it that way. Have you been watching Outlander? And if not, you should.
Oh my God, my brother was just telling me about Outlander.
Have to watch Outlander. There's only been 2 episodes. You can catch up on stars.com. You will thank me.
Yeah.
That is all.
Okay.
And then I have to pay for stars.
Well, that's my question: is do I have to pay for stars?
Let's discuss this offline, in which I will solve this problem for you.
Right. Understood.
Yeah.
Picking up a shilling down here.
Yeah.
I
So,
don't know what
someone
you
I know
mean.
has to be a Stars subscriber, is what you're saying.
Didn't fash, Molly. I'll solve your problem.
Zip it, ixnay on the.
Anyway.
Is this the same way that I solved Brian Brushwood's problem with HBO?
Yeah.
By
Be
buying
a la
him a
carte.
totally
Just be
legal
a la carte, and then
subscription?
actually, you know what? I'm think that I think I'm gonna subscribe to Stars because I subscribed to HBO and then had the most hilarious customer service interaction ever, which resulted in me getting HBO for free for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically because they had it listed for I don't know, $10 a month on their site, and then they tried to charge me $15 when I signed up over their chat, and then I was like, no, it said 10 on the site, and then they argued with me for a while, and I was like, dude, that's total bait and switch. Like you can't. It says that here's a screenshot, whatever. So then he's like, oh, let me talk to my manager, and then comes back and says, okay, how about if we give you HBO for free for life? And I was all, yeah.
So you're not kidding?
No, I'm not joking. Like that actually happened. It was the weird, and I'm like, wow, you really overcorrected there, Comcast. Like, okay, if you say so. So that happened, and then I'm giving up on the NFL.
Whoa.
Which hurts. It hurts.
Yeah.
But I can no longer choke back the, oh, your camera just died. It finally happened.
Yep, there it goes. Hey, at least it happened after the show.
I know. Well done.
Molly, let me tell you about Outlander.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm getting rid of Red Zone.
Yes.
And
So you can
I have
afford
free
Stars.
HBO, so I'm going to get Stars because all I really want is like a bunch of movies all the time. I love movies on the TV.
All right, wait. I have to answer the question. Answer the question. No, wait. What was the question? Oh, okay. Tinvec, I will answer your question about Outlander right now. It is based on a series of books by an author named Diana Gabaldon, which you could read too. They do skew a little bit towards the ladies, the books, but I do believe that Stars is taking pains to make sure that while the ladies will be the primary audience for this TV show, they won't be the only audience. It is about a woman who in 1945, a post-World War II nurse named Claire Randall, who, and this is not giving anything away because they could not be more clear about it, falls back in time to 18th century Scotland. And the kilts, they go a-flying. And it's just fantastic because Diana Gabaldon was originally a historian. And so, like, half of her thing is, like, half of it's about a romance between the girl from the 1945 and the guy from 18th century. But she's really into the history and the battles and the gore and the sawing off of legs, and it's just great. And so that's the books. But the TV show takes its time, and that is very much Ron Moore, who of Battlestar Galactica, who basically is like, dude, I just gave you Battlestar Galactica. You will sit with me through whatever I want to give you. So it's very deliberately paced on purpose, because things will go crazy later, and they're just settling you into these worlds. So, and the extra plus is that the music is by Bear McCreary, who did the music for Battlestar, which was spectacular. And I find myself walking around the house like singing the theme song from Outlander, and it's only been 2 episodes, so it really gets in there. There's a lot of bagpipes. It's fantastic. Watch it. Just watch it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exactly what my brother said. Almost all of that, except for the bagpipes. He left that out.
Well, I'm very musical centric, so.
Come for the romance, stay for the sawing off of legs.
Stay for the song. I know my brother is like hilariously aware of what a big wimp I am, and so he very sweetly was like, "Well, it could go either way with you." He's like, obviously some bad things, occur, but it sounds like he thinks I can take it. It's not like The Strain or something where it's scary ass TV that I would love to watch and I'm never going to.
No,
I can't believe I saw Snakes on a Plane with you and Veronica Belmont, 2 of the most squeamish movie watchers ever.
Because that's not scary.
It wasn't.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And another thing that I love about Outlander is for a TV pilot, it takes the most difficult kind of TV pilot, which is setting up a huge amount of stuff in one location and then paying it off in one episode, in like 3/4 of an episode worth of setup, and then slowly paying it off over like 2 episodes that we've seen so far. And that's hard because people don't have patience. Like, people want to be dropped right into the action in a pilot. But in this one, Ron Moore's like, I'm Ron Moore, stuff it. You're going to sit through 45 minutes of this, and then I'm going to give you what you really want.
That's pretty awesome.
If you watch it with that in mind, you'll be like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
All right. Oh, so many TV shows. So much TV.
No, this one's worth it. This is the bottle of wine on a Saturday night show.
All right. Love it. Yeah, that sounds good. I'm digging it. I'm all over that.
Good. Have I answered all your questions about it, chat room?
It is the new Game of Thrones
like,
in the sense of it's the new thing that everybody's like, you have to watch this.
Yes, it totally is. This is now like the 3rd recommendation, I think. So I have to get after that.
Get in early, so you can say you were there.
Sweet.
So let's see.
I
what
just
else.
don't want to subscribe to Stars. You know what though? I didn't win as big as you did, Molly, but I called to cancel Showtime after Dexter ended.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What if because you have HBO, sir? What if we gave you HBO and Showtime for less than you would pay for the current for just HBO if you canceled Showtime?" And I'm like,
weird.
So wait a minute. So I want to cancel Showtime, and you're saying you'll lower my bill to below what it would be if I just canceled Showtime if I keep Showtime.
Right.
Like, yes. Like, all right.
If you insist.
Your logic compels me.
I know. That happened with my brother, too. So bizarre. But anyway, yes, I think even though you're supposed to be able to do this all online and you never can, you still have to end up chatting with someone at Comcast. Yeah. I think I'm inspired today to drop Red Zone, add Stars, watch movies.
Do you have Comcast?
Yeah.
Can you record it?
Well, I never talk to them on the phone.
Okay.
It's all chat. I only use the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which they're not so bad with. But one time I was like having this whole chat experience, and then
Tom again.
I know Tom's out again. Tom winked out again.
Show now.
I'm just over here editing in the dark. Don't mind me.
Don't mind me. Can't somebody like bring you a new camera or something? Like just Postmates that or whatever.
Amazon is bringing me a new battery, and then that will fix it.
Oh, good.
I'm almost certain. Almost.
Hope springs eternal.
I did not watch Da Vinci's Demons, but I missed a question from Beatmaster. I love this. I want this on a t-shirt. TVZ gun. It's kind of weird with the wife. Spaceships equal no. Time travel equal yes. Love it.
Awesome. Oh, there's so many.
All right, so let's see.
I
what
am
else.
out of the
What else is
post
going on?
finally. It took me a little.
Okay.
I made one of those mistakes where if I don't catch it, it ruins the show for everyone. So I caught it. But it took me a little longer.
The chat room's like, that's not scary. You guys have no idea. Chicken. Chicken. I'm a giant baby.
My
All
time
right, guys, I better get back to my other job, I guess.
Go get back to the other job, but you have to acknowledge this one's way more fun, at least today.
Pretty much all the days. Pretty much all the days. It's way
We're
more.
way more fun.
I know.
Well, thanks for being on.
Yeah.
I hope we cheered you up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, plus you gave me a direction.
Oh, good.
The thing that I
Better.
desperately needed, a direction.
Awesome.
I know,
Even
so
better.
I'm going to go pursue it. Yay!
Go in your
GPS.
direction.
Be free!
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Bye, chat.